everybody! I am going to show you how we are going to decorate our cover for our sketchbook. Now mine is upside down, so I kind of laid it out a little bit for you, and I also want to show you how you may use one of your pieces of paper as a straight edge. You may use the pieces of like the paper that comes with your kit for your brushes. You can also use a ruler if you happen to have one, but you don't necessarily need one because you can just use one of the pages from your watercolor. And I want you to use the middle size. You can see that I actually have 3 sizes here. I have the big and the medium and the small. I'm going to use the medium size, so I picked one up from the medium, and I'm going to use that to draw my edges. I've kind of laid it out for you so that I could draw it fairly quickly. You do not have to use a pencil if you don't want to. You can freehand and paint anything, but a lot of times I know people seem to feel more comfortable. Now the pencils I may have gave you don't have necessarily erasers on it. That's okay. I hadn't got all the erasers in, so I'm working on it, but if you have an eraser, just draw super light because the watercolor will cover up some of it. So if you want to use a straight edge, you can use the edge of your paper, and that works out really well. Just try not to push too hard with the pencil. I also use lots of circles as tools, so I wanted to put a circle down here. So I draw circles like this, and I say, woo, and just draw light with your, I thought about not giving you any pencils at all, because I want you to learn to paint, not draw pencils. I'm going to do it that way. And now I'm just going to kind of lay out some pencil lines so that I know where I want to change my colors. I want to draw it light enough so that when the water touches it, it kind of evaporates it. And really all I'm doing is so you can see it, because I want to make sure you can see. I'm laying out my name, and I'm putting out my first name because I want you to be able to put your first name on. If you want to do your last name, that's fine. My last name is very long, so I don't want to necessarily use my last name right now because it might take up too much room. And usually you'll see when I do my last name, I'll only do 3 letters. And that's just because I don't want to always take up so much room. So I am drawing out some letters. Sometimes people print out letters and then they make templates from them. That is perfectly fine. I like you to be creative and original and try to come up with things on your own. You don't have to necessarily take info from me. So this is my paint sketchbook, so I'm saying paint on it. And I'm going to add a couple little lines through it because I like to make colors and like them to change colors. So I'm going to put some lines through it, make it look a little more geometric. Add some shapes. The idea is just to make your cover look different than everybody else's. So now I have some covers design, and I have some area, so I don't know if you guys can see that okay, but now I have area that I can lay out some paint. And well, there's a couple different ways that we will learn how to paint, but what I want you to practice doing is now I want us to practice learning how to add water to some of the watercolor, and that's what this first little mini lesson is how to lay color down without really over painting. So one of my first colors I think I'm going to use is yellow because it's very light, and so that you don't add too much water, I gave you this little pipette. And you can add it to whatever colors you want. I'm going to use some greens, and I'm going to use, my favorite blue is the blue that's next to the orange. I also gave you ultramarine blue, which is the lighter blue. Everybody likes to use that. I don't like it as much. So I'm going to start with yellow, and I'm actually going to use my big brush first. And I'm going to put some area down here. where I made this design, and I'm just going to lay water down very lightly. I don't want to rub the paper. I will tell you this probably 1,000 times. Don't rub the paper with your brush. You want to be very, very gentle, and you want to barely touch the paper with any wet brush. Anytime the paper's wet, you want to barely touch it because you're going to destroy the paper. So there we go. I added water to this area right here. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. Now, this water and paint is supposed to be very, very thin. It's supposed to be see-through. You build up your colors, and that is the whole point. So you can see that I am barely touching the paper, and color is just going to explode everywhere. We want it to be thin. You can always add more color. This should not look like that really thick acrylic paint that I gave you. This should be very thin. And that's the beauty of watercolor. We don't want it to be super thick. We want it to be very thin. We want it to just bleed everywhere. So wherever that water is, the paint's going to go. So if you don't put water on it, it's not going to go there. If you put water there, the paint will travel. So if you don't want the paint to go there, don't put water there. You cannot outline right now. Do not try to outline. Do not try to put a black outline. If you notice, I started with our lightest color. Do not outline in black. Do not outline in black. Do not outline in black. Say it with me, everybody. Do not outline in black. Please do not outline in black. That should be my question at the end of this video. What is the one thing that you should not do today? Outline in black. Okay. So, I also have one thing. I really can't stand it when you draw a sun in the corner of the page. So instead of drawing like a sun in the corner of the page, I'll probably make this something like blue. But I think I'm going to put my A over here and I'm going to make it kind of yellowy. So I'm going to add some water. And again, you're probably not going to see it. Wherever that water is, that paint's going to go. Now, if I'm very careful laying it down, I don't want to rub the paper. Wherever the water is, the paint's going to go. Even a sharp line. So. Now I'm going to add some yellow. Now I can try the other yellow if I want, the one that's underneath. Now I added a little bit more to it, so ooh, I can let it overlap a little. I'm barely touching it. If I need to add and make more of it, I'm going to add more water. I don't want to scoop it up here like acrylic. This paint should last you, it should last me like 3 more classes, okay, besides you. So, one more little mini technique I'm going to do is I'm going to add some water to it while I'm on here. See, I can add water. I can let it just fade out. So that's my first color. And I want to let it dry. I can work over here. I just don't want to work on 2 colors that are right next to each other, or they're just going to go all crazy. So I could go all crazy in here, but they're just going to go whoosh everywhere. You can do it and see what happens. I might do it right here just to show you what it looks like. So let's see, what would be, oh, I'll do the green. So here's my green. What happens if I add green here? Well, they're going to bleed into each other. Remember, very light, very delicate. Wherever the water is, the paint's going to go. Watercolor is about building up color. I teach you to do it because, one, it doesn't ruin your brushes like acrylic does. So we get to learn with it a lot. So you can do something like I'm doing, or you can make something up completely different. I guess the only thing I'd probably say is please don't do a galaxy. I mean, if you really want to, you could. But I like to work light to dark. I always want you to work light to dark. And you can leave it unfinished if you want. Okay? I'll put it up there so you can see it a little better. I could come back and work on this for a little bit at each time. It does not have to all be done today. I just want to see you lay something out and put a couple colors down and let it dry. Now, while this is wet, I'm going to try to avoid opening this up because I want it to dry. I don't want it to spill everywhere. Now it'll dry fairly quick, and it will wrinkle a little. That's okay. That's just part of watercolor. Okay?